I'm going to change seats with John and let him speak to you. And John Rosenau.
All right, thank you very much. John Rosenau, I'm at 4108 St. Joseph Drive, and I guess I am the public comment for the day. I emailed earlier in the week regarding fishing on my pond. So my pond, I say. I'm at 4108, so the pond that backs up to my house is the Normandy Pond. Normandy Pond, primarily outside of a small sliver that connects to Conover Circle, is at the rear end of homes. What I'd like to propose, or like to start the conversation to do, is to change the status for fishing of the Normandy Pond from open to closed. One of the primary reasons for doing this is that my family and I are not fans of people walking basically in our backyard or hanging out there, sitting all day to fish. It's a rotating cast of primarily 20 to 40-year-old men who have had no issues, but would like to take away that possibility of an issue in the future. So I just wanted to start that conversation. I know nothing's going to happen during this meeting, but I wanted the board to have that so they could start having a conversation on it. I realized that I started this a little bit last year when I requested the fishing list. And last year, I think there was 189 fishing permits issued as of June of last year. I'm sure that number's up a little bit this year, but that's pretty much all I have. While I'm here, does anybody have any questions for me, or shall I turn it back over to the mayor?
Mr. Rosenau, Jeremy Russell here. Would you propose just no fishing or no access at all to that common area?
I'm just proposing no fishing. I don't mind people walking their dog or walking around the pond and enjoying the nature. It's more of the fact that with fishermen, you're staying in one location. So you might be standing in my backyard, or you might be standing in the backyard on the other side of the pond, looking directly into our backyard. Whereas if you're enjoying it for dog walking or just strolling, you're typically moving and you're not just hanging out. So just to close it for fishing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
John, I have one question. How long have you lived in your house there?
Yeah, no, we've been there for 10 years now. So we bought it because of the nice view of the pond, and yeah, so. Does anybody else have anything? Very Cleveland.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. All right, we will have a place for discussion on item number 8 of our agenda this evening, where we will be available to talk about the Normandy Pond fishing status. 3 emails out to you, the minutes from our July meeting. Hopefully you've all received that, had a chance to look at that. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented to you?
This is Will. I'll make a motion.
Will has made a motion. Is there a second?
Jeremy will second.
Jeremy has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by stating your name, starting with Will.
Aye.
Jeremy,
Jeremy, yes.
Julian,
Julian, yes.
and Joe.
And Joe, yes.
Okay, the minutes have been approved. Okay, we also, sent a copy of the agenda for this evening. Is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
This is Will, I'll make a motion.
Will has made the motion. Is there a second?
This is Julian, I'll second.
Julian has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by stating your name, starting with Will.
Aye. This is Will, aye.
Jeremy,
Jeremy.
aye.
Julian
Julian, I.
and Joe.
Joe, aye.
The agenda has been approved. Moving on to item number 5, council actions. The only action that council approved was the $1,350 to Kiker Tree Service for tree removal and stump grinding, most of which was a result of the storm damage on July 18th. You were emailed a copy of the detailed budget report for July 31st. A quick summary is on the screen. Of course, we're just starting our fiscal year, so there has not been much money spent. Most of the expenditures were in the maintenance, which was a payment to Lucas for their contract, plus a few miscellaneous items. Any questions about the budget? Okay, moving on to events. Angie, do you want to speak to events?
Sure. The American Red Cross, we have that blood drive scheduled for September the 12th from 1 to 5:30. As of today, we have 1 of the 25 appointments booked. However, there is a blurb in this month's newsletter that will be going out and hopefully recruiting some more folks to sign up. We will see how this goes. If it has a low turnout, we will probably discontinue using Red Cross and just stick with One Blood. Red Cross does not have their ducks in a row quite like some of the others. They have already switched account people with me because the first lady got moved, and it's just not a good thing. So banking on how well this does in September, we may just stick with One Blood drives for the future. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Angie. Okay, moving on to ponds. You probably can't see most of the Lake Charles shoreline there. Cherie, do you want to address the renovations to the Lake Park shoreline?
Yeah, I can. All of the shoreline now has riprap, and with the fabric that was put down and the riprap, hopefully this will, it should address the erosion issues that we were having on the bank of Lake Charles. We've got several other ponds that are going to need this same type of care. We've been feeding the geese over there quite a bit, which is why we've had such a huge population in the pond lately, if you've noticed.
Okay. Any questions
Looks great,
about
Cherie.
the work that's been done on Lake Charles? Comments?
This is Will. Looks great.
Thank you. I think Lucas did a nice job, and Eagle certainly did their job and follow up and making sure that everything was functioning as it should be. So hopefully we can take this one off the list.
Okay. Thank you, Cherie. Okay, moving on to the Normandy Pond fishing status. Should actually be item number B. The picture on the screen is a picture standing with my back to Normandy Pond and looking towards John Rosenau's home. I think one of his concerns is that he has a swimming pool in the backyard or somewhere in this area. And he stated to me that he just feels uncomfortable being in his backyard with people fishing and walking around the pond. He is at the far end, pretty much the far end of Normandy Pond on the left-hand side. I walked down that area to take this picture. There are one or two homes that have privacy fences in their backyard. Some homes have no fencing at all, and a few of them have fences like Mr. Rosenau. Are there any thoughts on changing the status of Normandy Pond?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I'm not as familiar with the ponds as probably everybody else is. So just from my knowledge, is this house any different than any other houses that may be on ponds throughout the whole entire village?
Not really, no.
So then does this
Oh.
open up the can of worms of one person saying no fishing, that now this goes for everybody because you set the precedence that if one person can shut down a pond?
Yeah, it could raise the issue with other ponds where there are homes surrounding the ponds. And most ponds do have residences around them. In some of them, there is a street between the residence and the pond. But, it does raise that issue. If we do it for this pond, other residents may be asking it the same thing.
And this is Will, does the property boundary end at the fence?
Pretty
It goes
much.
a little
I think
further, Will, but not much. There's a large common area around Normandy Pond where there's not a large common area all around Versailles Pond, which is no fishing.
So is one of the issues that people are getting, like the fisher, the folks that are fishing out there, are they walking real close to that fence, or?
John did not state that. I did note down in his particular end of the pond, there is probably a 40 to 50 foot, at least that much common area between the pond and his property. So it's a pretty wide stretch. As you get closer to Conifer, it narrows a little bit, but there's still probably 20 to 30 feet of common area. John is the only person that I know of on that pond that has requested the change in status.
Yeah, this is Julian. So my son and I, we walked the pond right before, probably about an hour before the meeting, and that actually probably has a larger common area than a lot of the other homes. And he did say there has not been any issues with any disturbances anytime that he's been there.
Yeah. Are there any comments or feelings towards actually changing the status? What I'm hearing is leave it alone. Does anybody have any comment to the contrary?
Will, no.
Okay.
Julian, no.
Hearing none, it's my recommendation that we just leave at least for the time being, we leave the status as is. We can always come back and address this issue if there are additional residences that have concerns, or if there's any other reasons to come back and address this. But I think based on our conversation this evening, we will leave the status as it is.
This is Will, just a comment, if it was a matter of trespass or large congregations just at that particular site, rowdiness, loud noise, or anything else that would detract from the enjoyment of your property, I would say, I'll probably consider it, but the way as it stands, no, I don't see a need to have to change it.
And I may
Okay.
have read the email wrong. I didn't go back and reread it today. I read it when it first came out. It seemed to me like he commented dusk to dawn were some problem hours. I mean, if that's the case, certainly the sheriff could get involved because there shouldn't be anybody on that common area after dusk. Is that correct?
Correct. All the common areas would be closed at
Right.
dusk.
Yeah.
He didn't, I don't, he says from dusk until dawn every day of the year, people are essentially allowed to stand, sit, hang out, etc. in my backyard.
And maybe he just had that wrong. He meant dawn to dusk. I don't know. But the way I read that, it's after hours.
Yeah, I think he meant it the other way. And when he says they're essentially allowed to stand, sit, hang out, etc. in his backyard, technically it's not his backyard. It is a common area that's, borders his backyard.
True.
Yeah.
Right.
So, all right, let's move on to the pool and tennis courts. As you know, we approved opening the pool on Friday and Saturday evenings until 10 p.m. We have had first Friday and Saturday evening, we did have a few minor issues about people objecting to clearing the pool and the deck when there was lightning or thunder in the area. Specifically, lightning and the question of how close the lightning was and so forth. But I think the last Friday and Saturday evenings, last couple of weeks, to my knowledge, we have not had any issues. Cherie or Angie, are you aware of anything?
We did have one on the Saturday. What is today? It would have been last Saturday. Same thing. Thunder came and the gentleman was clear the pool and he said he wanted to finish his swim set first. She was like, "No, we've called thunder. You need to get out of the pool." And he went to the other end and continued his laps and told his son to go shower off in the shower and get ready to leave. And it took him a good 10, 15 minutes to get out. I do have that name.
Okay.
So it is a matter of the pool members are not following our pool rules more so than walk-ups.
Okay. Do you have any idea how many people have been using the pool?
I didn't do the entire season. I just did the numbers for August. Typically, for the first 2 weeks of August, we're averaging about 40 people per day for the entire day at the pool, members. Guests have been fluctuating from guests are typically around 20 or less. After school started, we went down to an average of 15 people, members using the pool for the entire week, an average of 15. And then guest walk-ups went down to an average of 5 to 6. Revenue-wise, walk-ups went from almost $1,000 for the first 2 weeks in August to $300. So I think allowing the walk-ups was helped save us as far as some of the revenue. I think till 10 is way too late for our teenage lifeguards and the people. So I think pool hours need to be revisited for next season for sure. And then they just don't have our pool members, not our walk-up. Our pool members are the ones that are most disrespectful to our lifeguards. And it is their job. They are trying to do a job and not have to call an adult because they're trying to gain their own independence. But at the same time, they've kind of been walked on a couple of times. I know they're short lifeguards now because all the college kids went back, but it's like when the college kids went back, I think these guys think they can pretty much tell these high schoolers whatever they want to do is what they're gonna do.
Is it the
Okay.
same offenders or multiple?
Two was repeat, the other one was a new one.
Both,
But everybody that has caused issues are members. No walk-ups have caused issues.
I know both I and the deputy did speak to one of the members, and I think after the deputy spoke to him, there have been no further issues. But I think that's something we really need to take a look at next spring when we're establishing our hours. You know, do we want to be open both Friday and Saturday evening? Do we want to be open till 10 o'clock or cut it short?
For the past 2 Saturdays, we've had 30 people total for the entire day. Last Saturday previous, we only had 14, but that's when it closed because of the storm. That was the torrential rain day. But 30 was on Saturday, and we had 40 people here this past Sunday for the entire day.
Mhm.
So Sundays might be a little bit bigger because it's a shorter time frame, but you know, we're paying 3 guards on Saturday to sit there till 10. And when I walked by walking my dog Saturday night, there was 10 people here at 8 o'clock. So we're just, I don't know, I think we definitely have to weigh the payroll versus the attendance.
Okay. Does anybody have any?
It's like, anything I would say to that is it's kind of like Councilwoman Jack said, it's going to be really tough to evaluate, to take this year as an average just because of the virus, how many people are not going out there at all, how many members are we down, all of that. But we can talk about all that next year. But it is tough to figure out.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other comments or questions for Angie?
One question on the pool, is there any thought of changing the hours or the walk-ups on Labor Day?
So what?
The Labor Day hours and the
Day
ability
till
for
8.
walk-ups.
Is it Labor Day 10 to 8 like always? Labor Day Monday?
Yes.
Yes, I've been keeping it the same.
No,
What are
I
your,
think what he's
what are your
asking
thoughts,
is
Jeremy?
No, that's fine. And walk-ups will be allowed. I figure that's a heavy day for the last day. I just was wondering.
It really depends on the weather. We've had some really slow Labor Days, and then we've had some, you know, since we seem to be in these weather patterns of rain, it's going to be hit and miss. We'll give it our best shot.
Yeah, I think, and Angie, you can weigh in here, but I think Labor Day is a much smaller number of attendees than the July 4th. People are going out of town. They're doing other things on Labor Day.
Yeah, we've allowed walk-ups this whole time. I just say finish the season status quo. Get this whole entire season in the books. Learn from it and move on.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the tennis court timer. We had a discussion at our last meeting about the current way that we're turning on the lights for the tennis courts. There is a separate switch just for the tennis court lights. It is a programmable switch that can be programmed for coming on at dusk, going off at a certain hour, or coming on at 9, going off at 10, whatever. We did agree to post, which we have done, the hours for the tennis courts in the evenings, open in the summer till 10 p.m. and in school year open till 9 p.m. That has been posted. Right now, we do have that switch box padlocked. We did request a quote from Balcom Electric to put a supplementary switch in there that would be still controlled by the master switch, but would allow residents to turn on the lights for 15, 30, 45, or 60 minutes at a time. The master timer would still shut off the lights at 9 o'clock now during the school year. But if somebody came up and wanted to play for an hour at 8:30, they could play till 9 o'clock and then the lights would switch off. As the days get more into fall and winter, we are going to be darker earlier, and I would expect there might be more people wanting to play tennis at 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. But to add that supplementary timer, quote is $480. I did talk to Joe Scaldera about this. He's in favor of adding that. It would come out of his electrical budget. He did have a suggestion, which was a good suggestion, but I don't know if it's feasible, that he thought it would be nice if we could have a remote switch in the tennis court so that players would not have to walk around the tennis courts to the location where the switch is now. I did a quick look, search for remote timers and switches. Everything that came up was the Christmas tree switches that, you know, come on at dusk and shut off after 2 hours, 4 hours, or 6 hours. And you can have a remote switch to turn them off from inside your house and so forth. I could not find anything that would give you the ability to remotely set 15, 30, 45, or 60 minutes and then go off. And of course, Balcom Electric quote does not include putting the switch inside the tennis court. It's strictly mounted over where the existing switch is. Any thoughts or comments on this?
I think I have a question. How dark does it get when the lights go out? Is there enough ambient light to be able to get to that? Like if you set the timer for, let's say, an hour and they're there for more than an hour and it goes dark, is that a potential problem?
There are lights on all corners of the pump building. So there is light to be able to walk over there and either turn the lights on or turn the lights off after dark. It's not a lot of light, but there is enough light to see over there. Any other comments, questions?
Is it possible to run it, just run conduit over to where the tennis court door or inside that back corner?
It is possible. I would estimate it would cost at least another $1,000.
Can't be that much.
Yeah, that was some pretty hard digging back there when they were putting in the wiring for all of the lights. It's pretty much rock back in that area. It would be nice to be able to do that, but does the cost justify it?
Sure.
Well, Julian, what do you think?
I was wondering, does Balcom know of a remote timer? I know you did a Google search. Is there any suggestions or recommendations from Balcom?
I have not asked him that. I actually found the timer to go in 15-minute increments and provided him with that data sheet to prepare this quote, but that was about a month ago. I mean, we can ask him. I don't think I think he'd have to do a search. I'm pretty sure he's not aware of anything off the top of his head.
And Mayor, this quote includes the timer and the labor?
Yes.
Okay.
That's complete. You know, the concern is leaving the existing box open where anybody could go in there and turn pool lights or tennis court lights on, leave them on, walk away. We don't know of course, at this point, how many people are going to use it. We have had 2 people that I'm aware of want to use the courts at night. And one of them wanted to use them and it was padlocked, so they couldn't use it. They posted on Facebook that they were disappointed that they couldn't use it, even though we had new lights up there. And Joe Scaldera did offer to go up and turn the lights on for them. There was a third party that was out playing there around 8:30 in the evening. It was starting to get dark, and I just asked them if they wanted the lights turned on, and they appreciated that. And the lifeguards then turned the lights off when they shut down the pool lights that evening. I think that was a Friday evening, perhaps, or Saturday. So we've had a few people, but again, I think as it gets dark earlier, there might be more interest in actually playing with the lights on.
Would it, I mean, I'm for moving forward with it. I would just say if Jonathan could look and to see if there's any way of getting it mounted inside the court, I think that'd be the best. But if it's $1,000, I understand. But I think that'd be the best of both worlds, just to cut down on the movement. But that's what I would suggest.
Yeah. Pardon? Yeah, I don't know. Joe, are you familiar with anything like that?
Yeah. I don't know the distance that it would be from where they plan on mounting it now as opposed to inside the courts.
About 20 feet.
Okay. So, yeah, I can't see it being $1,000 more. I honestly think 480 is a little high just for mounting a switch as well. But that's because I know what it takes to do it.
Yeah, he's going to have to get into the other existing panel and rewire the existing switch that's in there and then add an additional switch. And you may be right. I can't say whether that's excessive or not. If you'd like to table this till next month, we can ask him for 2 things. One, is it possible to get a remote Bluetooth type switch that would do what we want to do? And 2, what would it cost to actually run conduit underground to the inside of the tennis court and put the switch there? There's nothing urgent here if you'd like to do that.
And I could do some research as well.
Okay. Does everybody agree to table that till next month?
This is Will, yes.
Julian, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will do some more checking on that and put it on the agenda for next month. Okay, moving on to item number 10, facilities. We don't know what's going to happen on September 11th. That was the extent to which the governor said we will stay in phase 2. We don't know if that's going to be extended beyond September 11th or if we will go on to phase 3. And if we go to phase 3, we really don't know at this point what that does to the number of people that will be allowed to meet inside as well as outside. Right now, I think we're limited to 10 people indoors and 25 people outdoors, which would be the limits to our rental room and the outdoor gazebos. We are not taking any rentals at this point. September 11th will, of course, be before our next Park and Rec meeting. Sri has expressed some concerns about doing any rentals to the community room in the community center. Primarily to protect our staff, because if people are coming in and renting the room, they're going to be using the kitchen, they're going to be using the restrooms. And it potentially exposes our staff to health hazards. I could see opening up the gazebo for rental, again, following state guidelines. Does anybody have any thoughts on this, comments?
This is Julian. I don't know. I mean, we don't know where we're going to be at September 11th, but even if we go to phase 3 after September 11th, I would still want to delay rental until further down the road. And I don't know what further down the road means. But I can't say even if we go to phase 3 or so.
What about
I
the
think
outdoor
we continue
facilities?
to evaluate.
What
I'm
about
still the
outdoor
same.
facilities? Same?
The same.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Will, I concur with Julian.
Okay. So does everybody agree that for the time being, we will not take any rentals of any facilities?
I think that's fine.
Okay. All right, and we can discuss it further in our September meeting when we will know more where we stand. We did have storm damage on July 18th from that downpour and the winds that we had. Jeremy, do you want to give us an update of where we stand on the community center damage, primarily to the ceiling?
Yes, sir. So I went upstairs during these last couple pretty significant rainstorms that were not wind. It was not windy, so it was no wind-driven rain. Everything was dry up there. Not to say that it rains tonight, that it won't be wet again, but it seems like that damage did come from the wind-driven rain on the 18th. Did Eddie come today, Mayor? Did he start?
Not that I'm aware of. Sheree, do you know if Eddie's been here?
No, we did not hear from him, nor did we see him.
Okay, he was yesterday getting on a plane to come home. I'm not sure where from, and he told me that he planned to start this week. He had given me the verbal quotes that I had stated earlier, not to exceed 800 in the community center for the ceiling and the 2 door repairs, and then not to exceed 300 over at the fishing pier. But I asked him yesterday, I told him I needed those in hand quotes. My email has been sluggish at best at my current location, so I've not seen it, and I haven't checked it in the past hour other than to get the invite to this meeting. I will forward that out over to you guys as soon as I get them from him, but I'm confident in his past works that he will stand by his quotes as given, and I would anticipate him there this week. The last thing I asked him yesterday when he said he's getting on a plane was, do you plan to start this week? He said yes.
Okay.
The work over at the pier, is that to permanently mount the lights over there?
Get those as mounted solution and mounted to where they're not drooping. I think when we talk about the trees a little bit later, that'll help as well. But and then also to get the lights changed out. There's not a lot, but there's some bulbs that are burned out. Get everything over there in order and in a permanent mounted manner so that they're not looking terrible.
Okay.
Jeremy, is he going to use the same, he's utilizing the same strand, so he'll be using the same C7 bulbs. So we
Yes, ma'am.
have quite a few of those. He just needs to let us know how many he needs.
Okay, I'll let him know that this evening. And I don't anticipate him getting to the apex of that mark over there dollar wise. That's just worst case scenario from what he told me.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to the kiosk panels, we did get tempered glass put into the doors of the kiosk or the door panels. Um, I have a picture on the right-hand side. Can anybody see that, or is mine the only one that's blocked out?
No, it looks good.
Okay.
Looks real good.
Angie put in corkboard in a trial panel. So we have one glass panel put in and one corkboard backing. And we put it up there just as a test to see how well that cork stands up, both the gluing as well as the cork itself. The cork that's currently in there is quite thin, and it's pretty fragile. So we're kind of waiting to test that, see if we need thicker cork, stronger adhesive, or what we need to do. But so far, the appearance looks good, and the tempered glass looks great, very clear. And that came to exactly $600, which is what we had approved at our last meeting. Any questions on that? All right, let's move on to landscaping. We had, this past summer, spring, we had removed 8 trees at various locations throughout the village. And they had the stumps ground, and of course, this is probably the worst case on the photograph here, but it leaves a pretty good mound of mulch when he grinds the stumps. So we asked Lucas for a quote to remove the mulch and seed and straw, each of these areas, and the quote came in at $1,000. Is there a motion to approve this expenditure for Lucas Landscaping?
As well, I'll make a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Jeremy will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, any questions?
So do you know, Mayor, if once they remove this mulching, did they add dirt?
Yes.
There before seeding and strawing? Okay, good.
Yes, that was part of the quote, that they would add fill dirt and then seed and put straw down.
10-4.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye, starting with Will.
Aye.
Jeremy, aye.
Julie and I.
And Joe, I.
Okay, motion is carried. All right. We also have had a few trees that have died over the spring and summer, and some shrubs, and a few places where shrubs have been missing for some time. Go through each of those. There's a head wall over on the far end of Alden Pond that I think a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, they completely removed the evergreen shrubs that were there. So it's just sitting there bare. Over at the gazebo in Matheson Square, there's a yellow knockout rose that died along one of the side walls. One of the new trees that were planted by Union Electric died early spring. And the best as I can determine, that was a red bud. We had a heron that passed away. No, we had another head wall on Balsam Pond that shrubs had died, and we earlier in the year decided to wait until fall before we did anything with that one. And then on the opposite side of Balsam Pond, there were some crab apples removed, 2 crepe myrtles put in, and a couple smaller shrubs. Both of those shrubs have died. The homeowner that lives between this island and the pond requested that we put some type of flowering tree back in that area, be it a crabapple or a cherry tree or something. She was very disappointed that we took out the crabapples in that area. So the quote from Lucas does include 2 cherry trees at this point. Will, would like your thoughts on that. Should we go with cherry? Should we go with the red bud? Should we go with crabapple, something else in there?
I would probably stay away from cherry unless it's going to be for sure watered. Probably redbud. Yeah, I definitely would stay away from crabapple.
Okay. I think I don't want to overdo the red buds, but the red bud would flower in the spring, and then the crepe myrtles that are there flower, late summer.
Right.
So I think we would have, yes. That may be a good choice. There are 3 other red buds around Balsam Pond, but if you don't think that's overdoing it, we could go with that.
I don't think so.
Isn't there a crepe myrtle in the middle of that island?
No, there's a crepe myrtle on the left and on the right. Where this picture is to the left side of this dead shrub, there's a crepe myrtle.
Yeah.
Then there's another little island right across the sidewalk
Yeah.
that has a dead shrub and another crepe myrtle. So we would be replacing the 2 dead shrubs with red buds.
So the crepe myrtles and the red buds will eventually grow into each other.
I think they're far enough apart. Yeah,
It's just gotta be urine resistant. That's where everybody walks their dog.
yeah, you're right. That's probably what killed these shrubs. So, okay. This is again on Balsam Pond. You can see where one of the shrubs has pretty well died. They're replacing that evergreen shrub. And there's a deodar cedar down on Lake Charles that has died. So the work for all of these, I can't see the price. If somebody can see the price that's quoted there, I think it was $975.
$975.
Yeah, thank you.
But does that change if we change those cherry trees?
No, we can, the red bud would be the same price as the cherry tree. So it would not change that overall price. Any questions or comments on this? If not, is there a motion to approve the?
So on the head walls, Mayor, just as a recommendation, just because I've seen more of them do much better, and it's more moundy and spread out, is that jade Distillium that was used over there behind Miss Dee Dee's after school.
Yes.
And I think the reason why they're not as big as it should be by now, because they're 3 to 4 feet high by that same those same dimensions and width, but it's a nice for head walls, a nice spreading durable plant.
Okay. Yeah, we can request that. I did not specify in my request for quote. I just said grasses or shrubs. And as I recall, those jade Distilliums weren't particularly expensive, unusual plant. So we can request that that's what Lucas would put in there. Any other thoughts, comments? If not, is there a motion to approve the quote from Lucas for the fall plantings?
Just one last comment. As far as the planting, any plantings that Lucas does, is in their pricing where they you know, especially if they do any tie downs, that they take those down a year or so later, or is that an expectation for the village?
I think it kind of falls on us to follow up with them and make sure that's taken down. I don't think it's anything in their contract.
Okay. Well, we'll have to definitely.
You may recall.
We'll have to. Yeah, we'll have to definitely take that up. I'll probably take a look and walk around. I saw one plant for sure that has a rope actually going through the plant because the whole tree grew around it.
Wow.
So with these smaller trees, when it's like that bad, that will be the source when there's heavy winds. That'll be the breaking point normally on these trees.
Right.
So I'll just, as now here moving forward, I'll make sure that I look at any new plantings and get those off.
I've noticed some other trees where the ropes or the stakes have been pulled out and are no longer providing any support. You might check and see if you think those stakes and ropes should just be taken up or if they need to be restaked.
I think there is one that needs it. It's over by you in that walkway between the two ponds.
Yes. Yes.
If you're walking from Conifer, taking that pathway, the first tree on the left.
Yes. I think that's a red bud.
And it's either that one or the black gum. And if it's the black gum, any trees that were planted in reference to the Union Power plantings, I'll relook at those. And if that needs to be redone, I'll take care of that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? Again, if not, is there a motion to approve the fall plantings?
I'll make a motion as well with looking at pricing for the stillings, as long as it doesn't change the pricing.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, and is there a second?
Jeremy, I'll
This is
second.
Julian, I second.
Okay, Jeremy seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, starting with Will.
Aye.
Jeremy, aye.
Julian?
Julian, aye.
Joe, aye.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number C. There are two large river birch in front of the pier on Lake Charles. The picture on the left is standing out by the street looking towards the pier. And it is very hard to tell that there's even a pier back there. There are two, I called them mophead. I don't know what the correct name is, but there are several of these mophead shrubs on each side. And the two on the picture on the right, the two closest to the sidewalk, have gotten fairly big and still pretty much obscure the front of the pier. I asked Kiker Tree Service for a quote to remove the two river birch and the two mopheads closest to the sidewalk. I think it would open that up. It would help with the problem that we have with the birch trees knocking down the lights around the roof line. Plus, I think it would kind of prevent the pier from being a hangout and being so obscure back there. Any thoughts on this? Comments?
This is Will. I would recommend removing everything there, and this is another perfect spot to do on both sides there. The stylium Another one could be anise, ANISE. I've got a couple of other varieties of bushes that would work well there. I'll email you that later. I don't have my notes here with me.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I would definitely support the removal of what's been quoted and more. I'd jump right in there with Will to take it all out to ground zero and put some stuff in there that's not going to get this big and cause these issues. It certainly has created a security issue over there. And aesthetically too, it's not pleasing either, so.
Yeah. Would you be in favor of taking out the birch and the two shrubs closest to the sidewalk and seeing what it looks like at that point, and then deciding whether we need to go the rest of the way, or do you want to wait, get another quote to take everything out?
I would yield to Will for sure, but yeah, I would be fine doing that, Mayor. Do what's quoted and then see where it's at. And if you even, maybe you don't want to put anything back, I don't know. So yeah, I'd go either way. However, whatever the pleasure is.
What do you think, Will?
I agree. I just do what's quoted now. Let's see what it looks like. Let's relook at it. I think it'll end up where we remove everything, but let's just relook at it. That'll be fine.
Okay. Joe or Julian, any thoughts on it?
This is Julian. No opinion. I'm in agreement with Will and Jeremy and the mayor.
Same.
Okay. That being said, is there a motion to remove the two river birch and the first two shrubs on the front of the pier on Lake Charles for $850?
This is Will. I'll make a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
This is Julian. I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, starting with Will.
Aye.
Jeremy, aye.
Julian, aye.
Joe, aye.
Okay, motion is carried. At the top of Balsam Pond, there's been some erosion and also one completely dead shrub and one partially dead shrub. This is primarily an FYI. Because of that erosion and the dead shrubs, this falls under stormwater. And we have a quote from Lucas to remove those two shrubs and fill in with some dirt and riprap to repair the erosion. So stormwater will be covering that. Lastly, under landscaping, Will wanted to check with you where we stand on the possibility of getting these swings stained in the near future.
Just waiting on the weather to cooperate.
Okay. You have the stain, correct?
Yeah, I have half of it, and Angie's got the other half. So we split it into sections. So she's going to do a couple on her side, and I'm going to do east of Faith Church Road. So just waiting for the weather to cooperate.
Okay. And
Hey, Mayor, I had something on, I maybe should have brought it up under budget. I don't know, but it kind of fit landscaping too. Resident called me yesterday about the $3,500 we had budgeted to
yes,
water the trees. The budget detail shows none of that's been spent. Do you know if we've had to spend any of that? Have we had to water trees?
Will, you know?
That is a no. Nothing's been spent there. I've kept tabs of the moisture level in the plants, and we haven't had to do any watering yet.
Yeah, not to say we won't. That's basically what I thought, and was what I told the gentleman, that it was a dollar figure set to cover what we thought would need if we didn't have rain. His concern was we've had so much rain, why would we need that? But we didn't know that going into planning a budget. So anyway, just wanted to check.
Yeah. No, it's been unusual. I mean, you look around at the grass, both in your lawns and throughout the village, for almost the end of August, it's been unusually green.
Sure.
Because we've been blessed with plenty of rain, in some cases a little too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a comment on that Balsam Pond head wall. So I understand about the fixing and the riprap ends. So is there a thought on replacing the plants there or no?
No thoughts on that at this point. If you'd like to take a look at that and make a recommendation, we can address that at the next meeting.
Skip Laurel will be the one I would recommend for that spot.
Skip Laurel?
Correct.
Is that a bush or a grass type thing?
Bush.
Okay, bush.
Bush. Yes.
Okay. Well, we can put in whatever you want, since stormwater's covering it. No.
But that was my fear.
3 Japanese maples.
Yeah, no.
Okay. We'll check into that. All right, anything else? Anything else, any other items that you would like brought up this evening?
Got nothing.
If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Jeremy will make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
We want to stay on. No, this is Will. I'll second.
All right. Any last comments? Would like to thank everyone for joining us this evening. All those in favor of adjourning signify by stating your name.
Will.
Jeremy.
Julian?
Joe,
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.